In this lesson, I'm going to show you how to add and manipulate sections and what content you need to add to those sections as well. So in this floor plan view, I already have a couple sections placed, so we can start out by looking at those, and I can basically double click on them and it will take me to that section. And then if I want to go back, I can just simply go to my project browser, go to my first floor plan, and if I wanted to add a section, let's say I wanted to do a wall section, I can go to my View tab, click on the section button, and I'm going to do a section through this window, and I'm going to leave it right there. Now what I can do is I can stretch this out, and that's basically showing how far that I'm going to see. This is actually my scope box, this dashed line. So even though the flag is stretching all the way out here, the scope box defines what I see. In this instance, I want the scope box to only see to the window. I don't want to see what's behind it. So if I double click that, you can see that it's cutting through the window, and I can't see the wall behind. If I go back to my floor plan and I change my scope box to include the wall behind, now you can see the wall behind the window. So I can leave it like that. And go back here. You'll notice that the numbers in this aren't populated, and the numbers in this section head are populated, and the only difference is this section lives on a sheet somewhere. Actually on sheet, it's drawing number 3 on sheet A4, and this section does not. If I added this to a sheet, then it would also be populated. And I'll show you that as an example. So if I go to, that's going to be section number 1, and if I went to, let's just throw it on here, even though there isn't enough room. I'll drag it on there, drop it, and now whenever I look at my floor plan, you can see that it is now on, it's the 5th drawing on sheet A4. Okay. So the next thing is to look at where to place sections. What I like to do is I like to have a wall section that just cuts through a typical wall, and in this instance I might do a different location that I could show more of the roof structure. I could take a look at that. I could modify what I'm actually seeing up here. And I might do it on a different wall altogether. So if I did it on one of these walls, I don't even know if I'm going to see the roof. Oh, okay, this is the view that I actually want to see. I'll just stretch this out a little bit. And that's a much nicer view for a wall section. So I'm going to go ahead and leave section 2 in. And I'm going to delete section 1. And I'm going to change this to wall section. Alright, so back to the floor plan view. If I want to look at the sections, I can either go to the floor plan view and see them from there, or I can click on them in the project browser. So if I go back to the first floor, this is my horizontal or longitudinal, and this is my transverse. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll try to cut through a set of stairs also. So right now I can't see through the stairs with that, and I basically am going to take this, move it in that direction, and maybe I'll drag this up a little bit so I can actually see it. Click it, and now I can actually see through those stairs. With this one, I can see through the door and see the stairs behind. So basically, the things that you want to include, the things that are nice to see in these sections, since they're so easy to create, what I try to do is I try to use those to show things that I cannot show easily in other drawings. One of those things is the ridge vent. So I just simply use my detail lines, draw in a ridge vent, and put a label to it. I call out the trusses, prefab simple span roof truss, bracing the trusses and bracing by others. I like to show my handrail in this view, or call out my handrail. And I'll put in my risers and riser height in this view. And I could look at this in different visual styles as well. That was hidden line. Here's realistic. I can actually see the concrete block. If I do consistent colors, I'm going to leave this as hidden line. In the transverse one, I think since I already had the stairs in the one location, this might be a better place to show the railing. I have this real simple note right here, and I need to modify this box a little bit. And basically, I'm going to point to one of these walls, and I don't have a whole lot of other places to show this, like how these leaders work all the time. Move this whole thing over. And I add this basement wall to be furred out and how they're going to be insulated and finished to that note. I could also call out the floor joists in this view if I don't have a framing plan. And the other thing that I can do with these, just like other drawings, I can turn on the crop region so I can adjust that. So after I adjust that, I can turn it back off. And that's a nice little quick section just to show what's going on there. With the wall section, I like to show a little bit more detail if possible. There's a few different ways to do that. For starters, I can start adding actually adding more detail to the drawing. I'm going to show fine detail, and I'm going to bump up the scale on this one to, we're going to try a 1/2 inch equals a foot. And then I could actually bump this up just a little bit more. And let's say I wanted to show the detail of this right here, or this. You can always do a call out to this as well. And then if I click on the call out, now I can start to change this and show some detail. At this point, I could go in here and I could add all my different annotations. I could show what the siding is. I could add some details. If I go to annotate, I can add detail components. And I can basically go through and find all different kinds of detail components. Let's say I wanted to use some dimensional lumber, a 2x6. I can drop that right into place there. Put another one right on top of it to represent my double top plate. I can also draw detail lines in. I can add insulation, and I'm going to make it 5.5 inches thick. This is batt insulation, but I made it 5'6", 5.5 inches. Stretch that down to there. And you can see real quickly that I have added a lot of detail. My annotations, real quickly I can go through vinyl siding, and 7/16 inch OSB. R21 batt insulation. Try that again. And I could also add my ceiling joist in here. If I had a ceiling joist, I could actually add the ceiling into the plan, and it would show up here. I could add soffit into the plan here. I can demonstrate that. So if I go back to my floor plan, and I look to the location with the section, I'm just going to go to my roof plan real quick, and I'm going to actually I'm going to look at this. I'm going to look at this in 3D. There's some site elements on there, and at this point I'm going to go back to architecture under the roof tab. I can put some soffit in there. And let's see what we have for options. We'll leave that as it is. And it's telling me to pick walls to create lines. Okay, it looks like I have to do that the whole way around. So I'm going to pick the roof edges, erase that one. Looks like I have an overlapping line from picking that one twice. Let's just start this over. Exit out of that, and I'm going to click on roof, and I'm going to choose my soffit. Roof, soffit, pick my roof edge, and I need to move it from the basement level up to my roof level. And it looks like I definitely have to do some adjusting. I think I'm just going to go ahead and delete that. Let me do a fascia first. See how that works. And I'm going to use a 1x6 fascia. And I'm going to drop that on there. And now I have fascia added. Let's see if it'll let me do a soffit on the fascia. Doesn't look like it. Well, at least I added that fascia. I have to work on how to figure out the soffit. We can go back to that view, the section view, and look at it. You can see the fascia is added there. So I played around with trying to find a nice efficient way of doing a soffit in here through the plan view roof tool, and wasn't crazy about anything that I found. So what I would probably end up doing for my section view is to go to my annotate tab, and I would simply draw in a line that represents my soffit, and then I would break my line, erase a part of it, and just call this out as a vented soffit. So I would add that. And I could also call out the roof components. Asphalt shingles. Five-eighths inch OSB. I'm also going to call out a vent baffle, even though I can't see it, just to ensure that it's in there, to ensure good ventilation. And I could also call out my truss. And I'll add that note by others. I could also throw in my double top plate node here. And I also need to align, take a minute to align my top plate with my level line. So if I go to the Modify toolbar, and then I want to lower those down. And I also need to drag my insulation down. So at this point, this detail is fairly complete. I could also call out my fascia. I could put a little line in here that represents my drip edge. It's pretty easy to use. It doesn't have to be super accurate. I could just move this down there. Stretch out that box, and I could actually even turn this off. Shows up a little bit better. shorten this up some. Drip edge. And now whenever I go back to my regular section view, I have most of the wall stuff called out. I see now that I also need to call out the interior finish. So I can do as much as I can in this view so I don't have to put it in the other one. 1/2 inch GWB, gypsum wallboard. I'm going to go back to this wall section. And I would do the same thing in here. I would need to show my floor system, and for some reason my floor system isn't showing up right there, so I would need to add my floor back in to this model. So I could very quickly go in, add the actual floor that I have. And I need to cut out for the stairs. And I look at my floor type over here, and I go through and edit. And first of all, I'm going to see if I can find one that's better suited. So I'm going to do wood joist with wood finish. We'll try that. I'm going to edit that, and I'm going to remove the finish floor off of that for now. And I'm going to go ahead and use the 9 1/4 and the 3/4 inch measurements. Add that in, check mark. Say no to that. And I'm going to take a look at my section again to see if it actually shows up there where I want it to see. I think I might need to take it out to the outside edge of the walls. I think I do. So what I want to do is I want to take it out to that edge so that this wall assembly is sitting on top of the floor. And I don't want an offset, so put that there. And I could draw, so I'm basically going to edit my boundary, look at the first floor. I'm going to try doing it with this. Try using an offset. And I'm going to try using a 5 1/2 inch offset. And I'm going to try using a minus 5 1/2 inch offset. Looks good. So I'm going to tab over all these. See if I can pick everything at once. Use a minus 5.5 inch offset. Say OK. Say no again. And I'm going to go back to my wall section one more time. And now it's looking closer to what I actually want to see. So at this point, I can go through and need to make sure that this wall is going to the correct level. Basically, this is going to be sitting on top of a pressure treated plate. So again, I'm going to go to my annotate detail components. I'm going to switch this to a 2x10 plate. hit my space bar, and I'm going to go ahead and align this. And what I really want to do is move individual segments of my wall, because I want the siding to cover this up. So what I have to do in order to be able to do that is I click on this wall type, I hit edit type, I hit edit again, and go to my preview mode, and I want to look at a section view, and I zoom in on this, and I basically want to modify this. And what I can do is I can unlock those parts so that I can move these individually. I'm going to say OK, apply, OK, and now I should be able to slide this whole thing up to that point where it's supposed to be, and then I can grab these two individual components and have them hang down like that, and that's exactly how I want to show it. I also want to show my sole plate. I want to show my some other plates here for this, the top of this wall, the sole plate here, my rim joist. So I go back to annotate. I use my components again. I use this 2x10. Drop that there. And I'm going to switch it to a 2x4. Hit my space bar. Drop that one there. Switch it to a 2x6. Space bar. Drop that one there. And come up here. I already have that taken care of. I'm going to put that in this view so I can see it in this view. And I'm going to go out and see if that shows up twice now. If it is, it's right underneath it, so it's fine. So I have a section view, wall section that's starting to show a lot of detail. What I might do is another call out of this area. I'm going to drag this over here. And I might drag that down a little bit as well. Drag this up a little bit. And I would do the same sort of thing with this, where I put my detail components back in. So I got my 2x6 right here. Got my 2x4 right here. I can really drop it anywhere and use my align tool. I'm going to grab my 2x10 one. Drop it there. Again, use my align tool on the modify tab. Looks like there's a little bit of space there. I'll leave that alone for right now. And then I need my rim joist. My rim joist And lastly, I could come in here with my detail lines, and I could just simply add another layer here, or I could add 2 layers there, and I'm probably going to want to use instead of a medium line, I want to use a thin line. And I'm going to just bump it over, nudge it over to where I can see. Drag it down here. And then I'm going to make a copy of that. And probably nudge that over again. See how that looks. And then I'm going to call those 2 items out. And I'm going to call them both out in one note. And say 1/8 inch thick fibered cement parge on 10-inch CMU. I lost it. 1/8 inch thick concrete parge fiber cement parge on 10-inch CMU. And we might as well put in a note. We'll leave that. We're going to add one up here. Dimpled membrane substrate on the outside so that we can alleviate the pressure of the water, any water that's in the ground moving towards it. And just going to leave it at that. And I lost it again. Alright, let's see what's going on here. Alright, looks like they were there. Just outside of my annotative scope box. Scrunch this in a little bit. And turn this off. It's looking a little bit better. And then I could call the rest of these things out as well. If I really wanted to, I could go in and add some components for the concrete blocks. Find the masonry ones. If I can't find them in here, I could add an anchor bolt. Drop that in place. So it starts to have a lot of detail. And that's basically the process of doing there'd still be more things to be called out. You'd have to add crushed stone and some earth in there. Clean up your level tags. and put it all onto a sheet. But that's basically how we go about a wall section.